Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. While the rest of the football world seems obsessed with firing rumors and hot seat debates, Miami Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel is talking about something entirely different: winning. In a season that's spiraled faster than anyone could have predicted, McDaniel stands there, steady as a rock in the middle of a hurricane. His focus locked not on job security or the noise outside, but on his players, his system, and his belief that this thing can still turn around. The Dolphins are 1-6 after a brutal 31-point loss to the Cleveland Browns, a game that felt like rock bottom for a team that once had playoff aspirations. But to McDaniel, that defeat wasn't the end. It was a test, a moment to find out who really believes and who's just along for the ride. It's hard to blame Dolphins fans for feeling restless. When a team drops 6 of its first 7 games, emotions run high. The frustration isn't just about losing, it's about expectation. Miami entered the season with hype, with Tua Tagovailoa healthy, Tyreek Hill still one of the fastest men in football, and a young, creative head coach who was supposed to represent the new wave of offensive minds taking over the league. Instead, the offense has sputtered, the defense has been inconsistent, and the locker room looks like it's carrying the weight of the world. But if you listened closely to McDaniel's post-game press conference after the loss in Cleveland, you'd hear something rare in a league obsessed with panic: perspective. "So the way I look at this job," McDaniel said, "is I find it very offensive to all parties involved if I'm thinking about having the job. I need to be doing my job." In one sentence, he managed to cut through the noise. He wasn't defensive, he wasn't dismissive, he was grounded. He talked about giving everything to the organization as long as they'll have him. He talked about the responsibility he feels toward his players and coaching staff. And he talked about how it would be an insult to spend time worrying about himself when the real problem is what's happening on the field. For a young coach under fire, that's not just poise, it's leadership. The loss to the Browns, however, was ugly. There's no sugarcoating that. Miami looked undisciplined, committing 11 penalties that killed drives and extended Cleveland's. They fumbled 6 times. 6. That's not something you see in professional football very often. Add in 3 interceptions from Tua Tagovailoa and a special teams unit that managed to botch even their one solid field goal attempt, and you have a recipe for disaster. The offense couldn't move the ball, settling for just 2 field goals. The defense, which was supposed to be the team's backbone this season, couldn't get off the field on 3rd down. Every time Miami had a chance to build momentum, they found a way to shoot themselves in the foot. McDaniel didn't hide from any of it. "We did everything we could to lose the game," he admitted. "You saw a lot of frustration from the season seep into our play. I felt like emotional overreactions in the first half were detrimental to us. For drives were sustained by penalties defensively. That's not coach speak. That's brutal honesty. And it's that kind of accountability that separates McDaniel from the type of coach who blames everyone but himself when things fall apart. He's not afraid to call out the problems. He's just not willing to let those problems define the team." The Dolphins' offensive line continues to be a major concern. Tua spent most of the afternoon either running for his life or trying to force passes that simply weren't there. The Browns' pass rush, led by Myles Garrett, completely dominated, collapsing the pocket and making Miami's timing-based offense look completely out of rhythm. When your quarterback is under duress on nearly every dropback, even the most creative play caller in the world can't save you. That's where McDaniel's challenge lies, not just scheming his way around weaknesses, but getting his players to execute at a professional level again. Still, McDaniel refuses to let frustration turn into defeatism. He's been in this league long enough to know that narratives change fast. One good win can flip a season's momentum, and one spark in the locker room can reignite belief. "For as long as I coach for the Miami Dolphins and this organization," he said, "they'll get everything from me." That's not a man begging to keep his job. That's a man doubling down on his commitment. You can see why players respond to him. He's authentic. He doesn't fake energy. He doesn't talk about accountability. He lives it. Around the league, coaches under similar pressure often crumble. They lash out at reporters, throw their coordinators under the bus, or hide behind vague cliches about execution. McDaniel didn't do that. He acknowledged the pain. He acknowledged the mistakes. And then he pivoted straight back to the process of getting better. It's easy to preach that when you're 5-2, It's a lot harder when you're 1-6. The locker room is quiet, and every sports radio host in Miami is calling for your head. That's when you find out what kind of leader you really are. The Dolphins' locker room, according to several post-game reports, was tense but not broken. Players know they're underperforming. They can feel the weight of missed opportunities. But they also know McDaniel isn't giving up on them. That kind of belief can go a long way in a long NFL season. There are still 10 games left, and if history has taught us anything, it's that seasons can turn fast in this league. One bounce, one defensive stand, one breakout performance from a player nobody expected, and suddenly, the tone changes. The truth is, the Dolphins' problems go deeper than one coach. Injuries have played a role. The offensive line hasn't been stable since training camp. The defensive secondary, once a strength, has been inconsistent. And Tua, for all his flashes of brilliance, has struggled to find rhythm under constant pressure. But firing the coach doesn't magically fix those issues. McDaniel's system is complex. It relies on timing, spacing, and trust. Ripping it up mid-season might satisfy the angry fans, but it won't make the football better. McDaniel knows that. That's why he's focused on teaching, not panicking. It's interesting because McDaniel's philosophy mirrors the way he talks. Calm, methodical, intelligent. You can see the influence of his time in San Francisco under Kyle Shanahan. Attention to detail, creative play design, and belief in the process. But what makes McDaniel unique is his empathy. He connects with his players on a human level. He jokes with them, listens to them, challenges them without demeaning them. And in moments like this, when the whole world is ready to bury the Dolphins, that connection might be the one thing that keeps the team from imploding. Of course, the NFL is a results-driven business. Words don't matter if the scoreboard doesn't change. McDaniel knows that better than anyone. He's not asking for sympathy or patience. He's asking for effort. He wants his team to play clean football, disciplined football, to stop beating themselves before the opponent even has a chance. Because that's what Miami did in Cleveland. They beat themselves. Every penalty, every dropped pass, every miscommunication, it all adds up. And until that stops, no amount of clever play calling can save them. So where do the Dolphins go from here? They have a stretch of winnable games coming up, and if they can get back to playing the kind of fast, confident football that defined them early in McDaniel's tenure, there's still a chance to salvage pride, if not a playoff spot. The key will be Tua. When he's confident, when the line holds up, and when the timing is right, Miami's offense can light up the scoreboard. But when things break down, when the game gets chaotic, it feels like everything collapses at once. That's where McDaniel's leadership will be tested the most, in teaching his players how to handle adversity without falling apart. The narrative outside Miami might be all about the coach's job status, but inside the building, the message is different. It's about accountability. It's about fighting for each other. It's about proving that the first 7 weeks don't define them. McDaniel's not naive. He knows the noise is there. He just refuses to let it control him. He's built differently, and maybe that's exactly what Miami needs right now. A steady hand in a storm of emotion. At the end of the day, football is a game of belief. The teams that win aren't always the most talented. They're the ones that stay connected when everything goes wrong. Mike McDaniel believes this team can still find that connection. The fans might not see it yet. The analysts might laugh at the idea, but McDaniel doesn't care. He's not here to win the press conference. He's here to win games. And if the Dolphins can rally behind that message, if they can clean up the mistakes and rediscover their rhythm, this season might not be lost after all. Because while everyone else is talking about firing, Mike McDaniel is still talking about winning. And that, more than anything, might be the reason the Dolphins still have hope. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? Hold on to your seats, football fans, because the NFL rumor mill just dropped a bombshell that nobody saw coming. According to whispers making the rounds in league circles, one of the premier pass rushers in the game, Bradley CHUBB, could be on the move in a shock trade that has already sent waves through social media and locker rooms alike. Yes, you heard that right. CHUBB, the powerhouse edge rusher who has been a consistent nightmare for quarterbacks, might be packing his bags and heading to the Sunshine State, joining the Miami Dolphins. Now, let's unpack what this could mean for everyone involved, because this isn't just a routine transaction. This is the kind of move that can flip the dynamics of an entire division and set off speculation for weeks. For those who've been tracking Chubb's career, you know he's been nothing short of electric on the field. Since being drafted in the first round, he has brought a level of intensity and skill that makes quarterbacks think twice before stepping up in the pocket. His explosiveness off the edge, combined with a relentless motor, has made him a cornerstone for his current team's defense, and seeing him potentially move is akin to watching a blockbuster trade unfold in real time. Rumors are swirling that the Dolphins, a team hungry to make a statement in the AFC, are eyeing Chubb as the final piece to a defensive puzzle that could vault them into serious Super Bowl contention. The whispers suggest that Miami has been quietly plotting this acquisition for months, monitoring his contract situation, performance metrics, and, most importantly, how he could fit into a defense that is already known for aggressive schemes and high-octane energy on the field. What's really fueling the chatter is the timing of the talks. Sources say that negotiations ramped up immediately after the Dolphins' latest match, where their defensive line showed flashes of brilliance, but ultimately lacked that one disruptive force to consistently pressure opposing quarterbacks. Enter Bradley Chubb. Imagine the scenarios: a relentless edge rusher lining up against top-tier AFC East offenses week after week. The possibilities are electrifying, and fans are already envisioning highlight reels that would make NFL Network highlight reels blush. Of course, nothing is official yet, but insiders suggest that both parties are motivated. The Dolphins reportedly see Chubb as a transformational player, someone who can instantly elevate the team's defense from solid to elite, while Chubb, on the other hand, might be intrigued by a chance to play in a market that not only values star talent, but also provides a platform for him to cement his legacy. The trade talks reportedly include a combination of draft picks and player exchanges, though the exact details remain shrouded in mystery. It's being described as a strategic chess move by Miami's front office, who are willing to give up future assets for a player they believe can have an immediate impact. The league insiders suggest that this isn't just about short-term gain either. Acquiring Chubb could signal Miami's intent to dominate the AFC for the next several seasons. The Dolphins have been flirting with the upper echelon of playoff contention, and adding a player of Chubb's caliber would send a message to rivals like the Bills, Patriots, and Jets. We're serious, and we're coming for the top spot. The implications of this move extend beyond just the field. Merchandising, marketing, and even the city's energy around the team would skyrocket with such a marquee acquisition. Naturally, the chatter has sparked a firestorm on social media, with fans and analysts alike dissecting every angle of the rumored trade. Some are debating the price the Dolphins might have to pay, speculating on which draft picks or role players could be involved. Others are predicting how Chubb would mesh with the Dolphins' current defensive scheme. Would he slide into a starting edge rusher role immediately? How would his presence impact other key players? And, perhaps most importantly, how would quarterbacks across the league adjust their game plans when facing a defense that suddenly features one of the most feared pass rushers in the NFL? The excitement is palpable, and even casual fans are suddenly paying attention because a move of this magnitude doesn't just affect one team. It shakes the foundation of the entire AFC. From a narrative perspective, the storyline almost writes itself. Bradley Chubb, a player known for his relentless pursuit of the quarterback, could become the centerpiece of a Dolphins defense that's been steadily building toward greatness. The drama, the speculation, the potential for a blockbuster season. It's exactly the kind of storyline that gets sports fans talking around the water cooler and keeps analysts up past midnight. And let's not forget the human element. Chubb, by all accounts, is a consummate professional, known for his work ethic and leadership in the locker room. Integrating him into Miami wouldn't just be a football move. It would be a cultural shift, elevating the team's standards and expectations. Rumors hint that Chubb himself has expressed interest in joining a team with Super Bowl aspirations, which would make Miami an ideal destination if both sides can agree on terms. The timing of this rumor is particularly intriguing. With the trade deadline approaching and teams evaluating their playoff chances, the Dolphins' potential acquisition of Chubb could send a shockwave through the league. Competitors are suddenly forced to consider counter moves, adjustments to rosters, and even strategic shifts in gameplay to prepare for a Miami defense that could now dominate with Chubb's pass-rushing prowess. Even more interesting is how this could affect the AFC East standings. A single player might be enough to tilt the balance, giving Miami a legitimate chance to overtake entrenched rivals. The ripple effects are enormous, and the league's gossip mill is buzzing with endless what-if scenarios, making this one of the most talked-about rumors of the season. Of course, until an official announcement is made, everything remains speculation, but the chatter is persistent and consistent enough that serious insiders are taking note. The narrative of Bradley Chubb potentially heading to the Dolphins is no longer just idle talk. It's a storyline with momentum, one that could dominate headlines if it materializes. Fans are already preparing for the possibility, imagining Chubb lining up against star quarterbacks, creating game-changing plays, and bringing an aura of intimidation to Miami's defense that we haven't seen in years. If the trade goes through, it wouldn't just be a victory on paper. It would represent a seismic shift in the league's balance of power, particularly in the AFC. So, keep your eyes on the news, keep refreshing your feeds, and prepare for a whirlwind of speculation. Because if these rumors hold true, we could be witnessing one of the most explosive trades in recent NFL history. Bradley Chubb to the Miami Dolphins isn't just a possibility anymore. It's a conversation starter, a headline maker, and potentially a franchise-defining moment. The league is watching, the fans are buzzing, and the rumor mill is in overdrive. This is the kind of move that makes football seasons unforgettable, and whether you're a Dolphins supporter or a rival, the shockwaves are about to be felt across the AFC. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.